Hello again, and welcome to part 3 of the World Press Freedom Index tutorial. So we've kind of done a little bit here. We've built our two B-Swarm charts, and we've done a little bit of our summaries and our titles. And we went into Figma and we built out the background. So for part 3, I think we can start to wrap things up. So we're gonna go ahead and basically, I think the first thing is let's add in the colors for the bee swarm. And to do that, I'm just gonna go here. Let's start with this sheet over here. So let's go color. You can basically click here or go here, whatever fancies you. Edit colors. And so let's do very serious. We have this over here. Satisfactory, I believe, was this over here. Problematic, that's this over here. No, it's this over here. Difficult is this over here. And then finally good, which is over here. And so actually to get these colors here, what I did was I basically just I grabbed the hex codes, Control C, and then you can click maybe on any of one of these boxes and add to custom color here. So that way you don't have to like keep going back and forth and copying, and that's how you can add in to your custom colors temporarily. So now we have this. Let's sort this in proper order. So let's go very serious. Then I believe it was difficult, and then problematic, satisfactory, and then good. So we can kind of see the graduation going across, which is how we want it. Let's do the same thing for here. So while we have to assign the colors differently, right now we're using multiple data sources, and so even though it's all colored using the situation field, I'm just gonna we have to assign them differently. If we were to like maybe join data, we can share the same field, but I'm just gonna go ahead and assign it individually, so because it's not that difficult. So do the same thing. Difficult, good, it's over here. Problematic is over here. Satisfactory is over here, and very serious is this guy over here. So we have that as well for this one, and I think the other one should already be assigned because that's a shared data set. Perfect. So let's go here. Let's just do the same sorting. We're gonna go very serious, difficult, problematic, satisfactory, and good, just so it's easy to, follow across there. Finally, let's do this one. Let's go here, go to this sheet, color, edit colors, very serious, satisfactory, problematic, good, and difficult, which is the dark brown over here. All right, so we've assigned our colors. Now, the next thing we want to do, let's add in our text boxes over here. So what that is basically in the original viz, I have a bunch of text here, which is essentially just a summary of what's going on in each of the different situations. So again, sometimes you're going to want to put some little extra text there. Other times you want to go minimalistic. But for a viz like this, I was kind of going for sort of like I guess newspaper style, where there's lots of text there to go with the visuals. So you can write up whatever you want to. I'm basically just breaking down, these are the number of countries, this is the situation, and just a little bit of text around what that is. So I'm going to utilize this container that we've already prepared for that, and we're just going to add in the text boxes. To keep it simple, I'm just going to copy over the text that I used in the previous viz, but of course you're free to write out whatever you want to for yours. So let's grab a text box, pop it in here. Control C, Control V. Let's grab another text box, put it beside it. Copy over the text, Control C, Control V. Same thing for number 3. Oops, text box number 3. Copy this over, boom. And number 4, get another text box. And I think we've got one more to do. Yes, we do. Control C, text, pop it over here, Control V. Awesome. Now let's do some alignment. So let's click here, layout, horizontal. So as usual, right, we've pushed everything in. So let's go into the inner padding, do the same thing. At the left, let's put in 85. On the right, 85. So now that's good. Now let's align the text boxes upwards. I mean, it's not mandatory, but as you can see, like, I really like to keep things aligned because I find that when things are just lined up, it's just easier for the eyes to follow. It's like a user experience thing. Like, you can have things like scattered all over the place, or you can have them aligned. And I just always like to have things aligned. It just looks neater overall. So let's try. I'm going to use again the inner padding because that's just easy for me to use when I do things like this. Especially when I use containers, like the inner padding just works perfectly for alignments and things like this. Let's try 20. Let's go 30. I want to push it to like the top of the thing here. If you want to, you can basically also use the grid to give you, like a guide to, see and make sure that's aligned. But I'm just gonna, freehand it, I guess. So for this one, since it's lower, let's try perhaps 50. I guess no, let's try 60. Good. Here we don't need to push too much, so let's try push up by 20. Okay. Here let's try to do maybe 50. No, let's go 70. Yep. And here let's push it up by 40. Let's go 60. Okay. So so you gotta see now everything sort of lines up, at the top here. And so it's easy to just kind of jump from here to here to here to here to here with, in terms of like what you're showing, the reader can read it properly. I'm gonna backspace. Okay, so I think this is fine. Now we have to add in some titles here. So basically we're just gonna, I'm going to use the title from the previous vids, right? So we need a text box. Just going to grab it, pop it in here. And then, so I'm just going to say what we're showing in the viz below, which is essentially the press freedom index scores by country zones. I'm telling the user that they can hover for details and that the labels show the lowest, the median, and the highest score in each zone. So I guess I'll talk about this. What you see here, it's not a built-in feature with Tableau, but I think in the previous tug, the previous analytics tug, we learned about how you can download Grammarly Desktop, and basically when you launch Tableau, it basically comes up and it does a spell check for you, which I think is a handy feature. So I've started to use it now all the time because usually when I write text and things like that and summaries, I would go to Grammarly online and do that anyways. So I think it's pretty cool to be able to do that in Tableau. So if you're curious about that, just go to grammarly.com, download the desktop version, and you should be able to have this going in Tableau. Chart labels, let's see, suggestions. Chart labels, show each zones. You know what? Let's take that suggestion. That's pretty good. So let's hit OK. And then now we want to do another title for this here, this portion as well, because technically it's kind of like another viz or another portion of the viz, but we want to make sure that everything just stands out very easily for the user. So you don't need to put a title there, but you should, to make it simple. So for this one, we're just gonna say, I think it was like situation summaries or something like that. Yeah, situation summary by country zone. Let's hit OK. And then let's move this a little bit to the side. Let's use some padding to push it. Actually, first of all, let's click here. Let's hit horizontal. And then I'm sure you can guess what we're about to do now. We're going to go to the inner padding and 85, 85, which means we can actually move this out here. And then this guy, let's pop it this way. Let's say 50, no, 30. Maybe I have too much. Okay, so yeah, we're good here now. And what should we do next? Okay, so let's go here. You see that we've got some annotation here, a reference line. And after we add these in, I think the final thing we'll need to do is get like the tooltip going. So let's start off with the annotations. So to do that, very simple. You're just gonna right click. Actually, I'm gonna, now that we've got this, actually let me just shift this a little bit. Let's right click. I don't want to hide it yet because I'm gonna use it for something else later. So let's right click, mark label, annotate, sorry, mark. And we just want to show the country in question and the score, right? So in this B swarm, the size is basically the score. So I'm just gonna leave this, even though technically I can go and actually grab the score field. I'm just going to ignore that. Okay, so let's do Arial. Let's do left aligned. For the country, I'm gonna gray it out a little bit. I'm gonna make it not bold. So let's see how this looks. Okay, North Korea. It's fantastic. And then we can make this a little bit shorter. Okay, so now let's double click, Control C, okay. I'm gonna right click, format, shading, no shading. So we have the minimum. Let's right click here, do the same thing, annotate, mark. And I'm just gonna Control V. This time let's left align it. So we got Norway over here. And that is good. Actually, no, let's center this one. And then shading, same thing, none. Let's go down, right click, annotate, mark. Let's right align. None. Okay, so it is missing the country field. So let's just go to the other sheet, to this sheet, and add it in here. All right, annotate, mark. There we go. Iran is the lowest score in Middle East, North America. Right click, format, no shading, annotate, mark. Turkmenistan. Make this a little bit shorter. Put this out here. Right click, format, none, annotate, mark. North Korea, no shading. Make it smaller, bring it down here. Right click, annotate, mark. Eritrea, none. Cuba, shading, none. So I guess as you can kind of tell, right, for some of this stuff, you really just need, patience. Like, you can technically try to use like labels to do this, but I found that it's just not as flexible, So that's why I'm choosing to do annotations. So, you've got to add it individually, and of course that means time. But they say good things take time, so hopefully that effort is worth it for you. But of course, these are optional things. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing for the maximum, and I'd say mark, Control V, left align. I don't want any shading, so none. Let's move it. Ooh, no, Control Z. We just want to shorten the box, but we're moving a whole bunch of things. All right, Norway, right click, annotate, mark, Control V, left align. No shading. Canada with the high score over here. Nice. Right click. I don't know if I believe that though. As someone who lives in Canada, is the press really free? Shading, none. Annotate, mark. Control V, left to line. East to more. No shading. Moldova. And finally, Israel. Okay, so we're done with the annotations. We noticed that it's 2 decimal place, so I'm just going to quickly go here and modify it so it's like a single decimal place. I don't think we need to show double decimal place. Right click, format here. You can go pane, numbers. We want it to still be a number, but we're going to do a custom number so that we can change it to 1 decimal place. And now we have this good. Did we do the maximum here? Awesome. So now that we have this, let's add in like the reference lines. And so the first thing I want to show you why we're manually adding in the reference lines. When we go to this view, you can see that this is a map layer, and how to recognize a map layer, you're going to see the collect field that tells you this is a map layer. Second thing, you're going to see longitude and latitude. So what this means is, right, like this is a single, like literally one layer. So if I click on this thing and I hit show layer, I can technically right click and say add a reference line, make it the median. Now, the first thing to notice is that it's going to draw a single line across the view, which doesn't help us much because we want to, show the median per zone. So what can we do here? Let's grab this index. Remember when we were creating our data sets, we used the index to break it out into zones. So let's go grab this index. I'm just going to put it here. I'm going to convert it into a discrete pill. Then I'm going to put it on rows. So now you can see it's broken out, right? I'm going to exclude the nulls, and then I'm going to sort it in the way we want it. So basically 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rather than how it is right now. So we can go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So now what this is this shows the median of these points in each pane here. So even though this view is showing like the longitude, and when you hover, it's going to show you the median of the longitude numbers. The longitude is derived from the actual distribution of points in the original data. So this position is actually representing the median of these points in each zone. So we can leverage that and go into the view. Like, the reason why I'm not using these reference lines is because, as you can see, it's squishing the circles in our B swarm, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of why we're doing the B swarm. We don't want overlapping points, right? So I'm just gonna hide this, and I'm gonna hide this, and now I'm gonna go to a dashboard. I'm gonna grab an empty or a blank component. I'm gonna make it floating, and I'm just gonna manually create my reference lines by placing it directly on top of these reference lines. So I'm just leveraging the position. So let's make this width of 2, height of 100. That's what I used in my original. You can kind of make this size however you want to. And then I'm going to turn the background, kind of make it kind of dark. So now it's basically just about on top of the thing. And then because of Tableau's awesome copy and paste feature, I don't have to waste too much time recreating that reference line. So if you have Tableau Public, you should have access to this. If you're on a specific version that doesn't have copy and paste, maybe you're with an organization who's giving you a license, you may have to create this multiple times. But in this case, we can just do Control-C, Control-V, and then we can pop it over here, quickly align it, Control-C, Control-V, pop it on top, quickly align it, right? Move it up a little bit here. Control-C, Control-V. Let's move this. Okay, so we can do the same thing over here. And Control-C, Control-V. Same thing over here. Scroll down. Control-C, Control-V. Over here. Okay. So now we have our reference lines. And if I right click here and I say remove, boom, we got the reference lines. We can go here now, get rid of the index. Now we're back in business. So hopefully when we go back here, boom, now we have everything set up how we want it to. Next thing, let's do our labels. So let's grab an empty text box. And the first one I want to label, the numbers are already here, so we can just copy 38.8. I'm going to make it centered. I'm going to do size 8. I'm going to do Arial as per usual. And then I'm going to make it a little bit darker. So, okay. So, floating. I'm going to make it small. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do size 9. Because I think, actually, let me see. Is 8 okay? No, 8's fine. 8 is fine. You can kind of make it a bit bigger if you want to. But again, I'm just going to leave this. And then I'm going to use the bottom of the box to align it at the top of the reference line. So that way I have like an even placement across all the zones. So leveraging the copy and paste again. Control-C, Control-V. Pop it on top of here. Boom. Align it. Control-C, Control-V. Pop it on top of here. Align it. Let's scroll down. Control-C, Control-V. Align it. Control-C, Control-V. I'm just copying the boxes, putting them in place. I'm obviously going to change the numbers to match the actual medians in each of the zones, in case that wasn't obvious. For this one, let's move it up a little bit, since like the circles are like spread out a lot there. So I'm gonna move this. Okay, so now let's update this number 76.9, 59.4. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but usually I would sort data points from like larger to smaller, but in this case I'm going smaller to larger just because visually the human eyes are gonna go from like left to right. So if we put like the biggest number at the top, then we would have to inevitably make people look from right to left, which is not natural. So again, another UX consideration for how the person is going to interact with the dashboard. You want to think about little things like this, where typically you can sort big to small, but we're going to break that rule and do it in reverse because it's better. So just a little thing to think about. There's a lot of rules out there, a lot of recommendations, but you can basically do what works best in each situation. So just keep that in mind. We can leverage what we've done here. Control C, Control V. We're gonna pop one up here for this big guy. So we can go to the sheets and do the same thing. Technically for this one, if you want to, you can actually leverage the reference line for the median of this because it's just a single line. But for consistency, I'm just going to do my own reference line. So the first thing, like we did before, that's not the reference line. We're gonna click the thing and then we're gonna pop it up here. Move it up. And then let me see, I need like about 250 height. Great. Let's move it down a little bit. Okay, so now I can go ahead and remove this. Right click, remove, and then I can Control C, Control V, bring this over here. And so I'm going to modify this label. First of all, the number we want is calculated here, 59.2. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger since it's like the main one. Let me even make it bolder. Let's make it size 11. And then at the top of this, we're going to let them know like what does this number actually represent, right? So we're only going to label it up here. And of course, logically, they're going to see the same thing here and understand like that is the median. So let's pop it in, median, bold, 9, okay, voila. Make this a little bit lighter actually. All right, so this is good, fantastic. Now, I think the last thing, let me see where we're at. Okay, so we have to do something here. So there's this little portion here that I left to be able to add in the total zone, the summaries for all the zones combined. So basically what I mean is we're laying out the summary, right? So for this particular zone, we have 10 very serious, 7 difficult, 2 problematic, and you can sort of, read the whole thing going downwards, right? Now, when the person our users get to the end, they're probably gonna like, this is a breakout, what is the total? If they want to see that total, they're gonna have to scroll back up here to grab it, which again, we're asking them to do something that's like just difficult, right? So that's why I decided that I'm going to lay out the summary for each zones, and then I'm going to add the total again at the bottom, because naturally, if you're going down this way, it makes sense. You want to place the total at the bottom rather than making them go back to the top to look for it. So again, just another UX consideration for when you're visiting. Where you place things, it really just governs how the user is going to interact, and it can either make it more difficult or easier. Why don't you make it easier if you can? That's why I did that. So I'm going to leverage what we have here. Click, go here. I don't need this title anymore. So first of all, let's right click, duplicate, and then I'm going to click here. I'm going to hide the title. And I'm going to remove the percentage because it's already shown at the top. I don't want to go that deep. Let's make the circles a bit smaller. Okay, we'll go to the dashboard and okay, so I guess we're gonna have to put in a container here because I want to stack them like on top of each other. So let's go dashboard, vertical, I'm gonna put it here. Then I'm gonna grab that sheet and I'm gonna drag it into the container here. Okay, good. Then we're gonna grab that total zone summary 2 and put it under here. I'm gonna hide the title over here. And then I think the bottom padding that we put here in the inner padding we put at the bottom here, we don't need that anymore. So let me see if we do just 20, how does that look? Maybe let's bring it down a little bit. Let's go 10. As a matter of fact, let's go 0. And then let's push this like downward a little bit. So at the top, let's go 30. So now it's placed like above the line, above this, so you can look, boom, look, boom, look, boom. That's the goal there. And now for this one, let's push it down so that it rests in between that, like the gray housing that we put for it, the pane at the bottom there. So the top, let's go 20. And looks like that fits perfectly. Nice. Now let's do one thing. Let's start actually getting tooltips in place. First, let's remove this. So one thing that I think I've started to do a lot lately is I've been investing time into like creating elaborate tooltips. And why I do that is because, you know, you can try to put as much information as you want to like at the top layer of your viz, but eventually you're going to overwhelm somebody with all that information sitting out. They're not going to know where to start, where to end. And just in terms of like assimilating those insights, you need to do it gradually. So for that reason, the top version, the top layer of this viz is focusing on 2023. And when you hover on each point, you can now see all this information, such as where does it rank? Well, how many points did it go up or down by? What is the scores over time? And then we're adding in even like, you know, a bunch more things there. So, you know, that's something that you can sort of utilize from time to time. Tooltips are just really another way to give extra information. And I'm like a huge advocate for that. So let's go ahead and build out this tooltip. And then you can get to see ways in which you can sort of prepare nice looking tooltips that can maybe even compete with your viz as far as like the user's attention goes. So let's first create the chart that we need for the tooltip. But first, I'm going to hide the sheets that I'm not using. So this sheet, we're going to call it scores over time. And I'm going to leverage the original data set. So let's go countries on rows. For the year, we're going to put it on columns. And then we're going to grab the score and put it on rows as well. Now let's click score and drag to create a duplicate. So what I want to do is I want to have one as a line, and I want to have the second one as like a area chart. And then I'm going to click, we're going to hit dual axis. We're going to synchronize, right click, synchronize. We're going to right click and hide. And then we're going to click on the area chart and we're going to fade it out. So it's like a design thing where you can, you know, basically like you can still have the line there dark and visible, but like, you know, the area chart faded out is easy on the eyes. And without the area chart there, you can kind of see like, let me just show you. Like personally, like line charts are fantastic, but it's plain, you know what I mean? So I think just having a little bit of like an area there to show and fill up the space is just more aesthetically pleasing. And speaking of space, right, I don't want space before and after the area chart, so we can modify the axes by right clicking here, axes. First of all, I'm going to remove this year. Like it's very logical to understand that the year is what's being shown. And I'm going to fix my axis to start exactly at 2013 and to end at exactly 2023 so that there's no space to the left and the right at all. So now we can, 22013. Perfect. So now we have what we need. And then what are we gonna do? Let's right click, edit axis. We're gonna hide this. We're gonna actually, you know what, since we're gonna be showing like one at a time when we hover, I'm going to right click, edit the axis, and use an independent axis for each of them. So that way, when we are showing Afghanistan, it isn't scaled relative to anything else there. We can see like the full body chart of that country. I didn't show the country in the original, so let's right click and we're gonna uncheck show header. Let's clean up the viz a little bit. So first of all, format, font, we want it to be Arial. Let's move this in. I'm gonna remove all the grid lines. So let's click here, border, sorry, remove the dividers. So none. Are there any in the columns? Column divider, none. Okay. Now we can leave the grid lines for the rows, but we don't want the 0 lines. At least I don't want them. You can leave them there. Columns, we're gonna take off everything here. So you just click and none, none, none. Okay. Now we want to color the charts based on the change relative to 2013. So what that means is, right, if the score in 2023 is higher than the score in the first year, then we're going to say that's a positive change, and we're going to color it by a positive color, whatever we assign. You'll see that in a second. If it's less than, then we're going to color it negative. So to do that, let's leverage a calculation. Let's go here, create calculated field. So let's see, give me, okay, so for each country, so let's use the LOD. For each, so fixed country, basically give me the calculation at the country level. So do it for each country. That's what this fixed means. So for each country, if the year is equals to 2023, then give me the score, right? But we need this here, and then we need to wrap this in a sum, because for LODs, the result has to be aggregated. And we need to say end to finalize that. Okay. So for each country, if the year is equal to 2023, then give me the score, okay? And then now I want to subtract the same thing, but for the first year. Okay, so let's go this score. Let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna do everything in the same calc. So fixed country 2023 minus 2013. But actually, Belize doesn't have data for 2013. So, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. If the country, I am glad that I remembered this. If the country is Belize, then give me this calculation. Let me see, I'll copy the whole thing. So give me the calculation, but we want to start at 2014, not 2013. Else, do the normal thing. Okay, so I need end, I believe. Fantastic. So what this says is basically, if the country is Belize, then just do the 2023 score minus the 2014 score. For other countries, do 2023 minus 2013. And so we can call this change from 2013. I'm just gonna say that, even though we know Belize is 2014. Let's hit apply, and then I'm gonna just test out what this does, make sure it's working. So actually, okay, let us just keep this calculation here, and then we're gonna go back here. We're gonna go back here. We're gonna go here. Let's start building out the tooltip. I'll go back to what I was doing before. So let's go tooltip. We're gonna say, first of all, if you remember correctly, we have this little line at the top. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Some people have asked me and I've shared in the DMs, but how I'm usually doing that is I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to type in line copy paste, and then I'm going to click this, and I'm going to grab a horizontal line. Let's find this guy, the thin one, Control C, and then let's go back into Tableau. And we're going to just do Control V, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Preview that. And do 12, 13. Okay, so we basically just have that. It merges together into one big line. And then, actually, let me say, okay, we need to add in a few things here. So we want to show the rank. So let's do rank in tooltip. We want to show the country, which is already there. We're gonna have the change since 2013, so whatever points. So let me now, I guess I'm just gonna go here and cut and paste the calculation here. Actually, no, I want to copy, not cut. So let me paste it back. So copy and then paste. So now put this on tooltip. We also want to show, okay, so we need to have some arrows to show the direction of change. So what we can do is, let's create a new calculated field. So let's go change positive, and we're going to say if the change from 2013 is greater than 0, meaning it's like a positive change, then I want to show the upward arrow. So where do I get these arrows from? Same exact thing. Go back to Google, upward triangle, copy paste. You can see I've done this a lot of times. Let's copy this. Go to Tableau. Okay. So I'm showing only like one side of the equation so that we can color the different sides different. So if it's negative, one color; if it's positive, another color. If we don't care about that, we can just say if it's greater than 0, then this, else, you know, if it's less than 0, then the downward arrow, and then we just color the same color. But that's not what I want to do here. So that's why I'm only putting 1/2 of the equation in this. And so actually we can do, let's just do okay. We can duplicate this, and then we can edit. And then let's say if it's less than 0, and then we're going to go grab the downward arrow here. And then we're going to pull it back and say Control V. And then we're going to call this like the negative change. And then let's go back. Oops. So if the change is less than 0, then down. So we can grab those two, put them on tooltip as well. What else do we need? We need to show, okay, I think we're okay for now. We got the situation here. Okay, so let's start building. Okay, so now we go tooltip. We have our line here, and then we're gonna show, oh, actually, so, okay, I'll fix this, but let's just start adding it. We're gonna say rank, and then we're gonna insert sum of rank, basically. And then we're gonna go country, how am I trying to type this out? We're going to use the country field here, and then we're going to do change since 2013. So we do a space. We're going to put positive, negative, and then the actual change. So what's happening here is basically, because we're only going to show one of these symbols at the same time, we just place them side by side, and we can color them positive. We had that blue color, which I already have it saved here. It's just, you know, you can color whatever you want to. This is a negative color. I'm just going to use the same red I have here. And then, actually, let me just change this to Arial once and for all. Okay, so we had the country a bit bigger, and we had the arrows and scores also bigger. So let's just make this 14. And then let's grab this line again, Control C, Control V, preview. Okay. Okay, so what's happening here is the rank is all crazy. We need to grab the year and isolate 2023. Okay, so rank 136. Okay. Change. What is going on with this? Pane. Number, custom, 1 decimal place. 0.0. I see what the problem is. So the score field in here is a bit different. So I'm just going to replace it, because I created the calculation on the other data set. So I'm just going to grab the score and replace it with the actual score field from this set. Score. In case, and I'm guessing this is common knowledge, but you can just drag fields into your calculation there. So I think this should do it. If we click apply, we should have numbers. So there we go. Now, I actually want to remove the negative sign, because I think having a downward arrow and a negative arrow, normally I don't care, but because it's so big, I'm just going to take it away. So to do that, we can right click and format. I'm going to go numbers, custom numbers, and I'm just going to actually remove this negative. So that way on both sides, like the negative and the positive, there's no symbol, and we're going to let the arrow speak to what direction it's at. So now you can see the rank is fixed. The rank should be maximum 180, because I believe that's how many countries are here right now. So this makes sense. Okay, so tooltip is on the way now. What else do we need? We're going to show, okay, so we have a legend inside of the tooltip. I'm just going to copy and paste that since it's a basic text. So let's go tooltip. This is the old one, by the way. So I'm just going to grab this bit of text here. Control C. I think I already have a line. Control C, click OK. And I'm just going to paste Control V. In case you're wondering, this circle, you know, you can probably guess we've done it in the same way as we've done the line, and the same way we've done the upper triangles. We're just grabbing like symbols online and using those. So that would just be like a circle symbol, and you can grab any of these ones here. I took like not the teeny one, I took this guy over here, I think. So if we copy black large circle, we can close this out. We can go back to Tableau. And then, so like if you just Control V, you can see there a circle, and then you can color it whatever color you want to. Right, so this is how basically like I do this legend stuff with the circles. And Grammarly is asking me to correct this versus. I like that suggestion. Thank you. Let's do it. And this is just telling them change is relative to 2013, except for Belize, where it is relative to 2014 due to the unavailability of 2013 data. Again, this is the type of stuff where, like, you know, as you're building, you're gonna intuitively sometimes know, okay, what type of questions are potentially going to come up, you know, what type of curiosities are going to be there, and you can just address them, you know, proactively. That way you're not leaving people with questions. You want to leave them with answers, and obviously inevitably questions are going to come, but you know, if you could answer something, then go ahead and do that. So let's grab some more lines. So Control C, Control V. How's this looking? It's looking beautiful. Let's make the line a little bit longer. Control C, VV. Control C, Control V, Control V. What's the suggestion? Sure, thank you. English. I hope I don't forget how to speak. All right, so let's go. We're gonna add the title, index scores over time. And we're just gonna say 2013 to 2023. I know Belize does not start at 2013. These are not the type of things that you need to stress about because you've already handled it here. So they're gonna understand what you're saying. But like the viewer is gonna understand what you're saying. So now we are going to insert our sheet that has the score over time. But first, let's actually go back to that sheet now and clean up what we need to show in the tooltip. So what I was going to do, I was saving this for now. I didn't want to do it previously. So we're going to leverage this calculation to color these things like positive or negative. To do that, let me just edit the calculation. And I'm just going to say if country is US to Belize. Rather than doing a subtraction, I'm just going to do is 2023 greater than, right? And if it is, it's basically, this is going to result in a true or false. Rather than giving us a number, it's just going to give us a direction, so up or down. So let's say, let's make this color the change from 2013. So if I grab this, you can see it's already converted to true or false dimension. Pop it on here. We should have only two values, false or true. Perfect. So we're good to go. So with the colors, let's go for the true if. So okay, if it's greater, so if the latter is greater than the former, then that's a positive change. So true should be a good color. Let's utilize this. Let's borrow this blue, even though actually, let me make it a little bit different. So it's, yeah. And then false, we use the red. Apply. So, you know, as expected from the data, we already know that most of them are not better, unfortunately. So you can see here, everything is looking fantastic. Now we don't need this tooltip because the user is not going to be interacting with these viz. So tooltip, I'm just going to uncheck it. Boom, boom. Click OK. Now we can go here and see what it's looking like. It's looking good. Okay. So we need, oh, view is too large. Okay, so let's go here. Basically, we have this set to standard, so Tableau is not going to try to fit it into the view unless we tell it to fit the width. So now when we go here, it should be fine. Okay. What is happening? What is happening? Why are these guys being weird? Okay, so let us do this. In this tooltip, we go to tooltip. When we bring in the sheet, you can see that, okay, let me make this darker so it's more visible. In fact, let me make this text bigger. It doesn't matter, it's not going to affect the size of the viz. But basically, if you look here, you can see that it has the sheet name, and then we can actually tell it what to filter on that particular sheet. We know that in this view, there's like year and a bunch of other randoms that are not necessarily going to work in our favor for the other. So we can tell it to filter only on the country. And to do that, we're going to go into the filter here, and we're going to change it to the country field, which is just called country. And I think this should help fix our issue. So it's only going to look at the country and filter based on that. And now we're looking good. But why is it showing me many countries? Maybe because I need to go here and grab country into detail. Is that why? Is that why? That's not why. Okay, let me figure this out. country. Okay, let me do a quick pause and then I'll be back. What is the issue? All right, so we're back. I got it working now. All I did, or what I did, I basically just rebuilt the view using fields from the same data source as the bee swarm. That was unexpected, but it makes sense. So anyways, we fixed it now. Basically, all I did is I built the tooltip using same fields from this sheet. So I guess in the end of the day, it's fantastic. It's great that we had an original copy of the data set joined there. So that's what it was. And then we can see that the line is shorter than the viz. So I'm just going to make the line a little bit longer, and then we're going to wrap up the tooltip here. So Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. Now we can put another one. We're going to grab the full thing. Control C, Control V. So we have a bunch. Okay. Now I think what I'm going to do, let me see what else we got. So at the bottom of the tooltip, because basically we have the freedom index scoring, the different ranges there, the categories for the situations. And how I got that, just in case you're wondering, it's available on the, so okay, let me go back to the viz. Since we have it already set up, let me go to the index, the Reporters Without Borders website, and we go to methodology. You can see the breakdown of the scores. So for someone who doesn't like end up on the website, they're still at least able to see, you know, what the scores mean, right? This, I think we can consider this another UX consideration. So again, UX, user experience, which is basically thinking about how the person who's going to use your visual, what is their experience going to be like, right? So you want to put yourself in their shoes and think like, if I were in that situation, what kind of information will be helpful to know, right? So it's, you know, we're being considerate. We're being, you know, like we want to make it as easy as possible. Like, so, you know, like I mentioned before, your titles, your tooltips, like whatever it is that you're putting there, A, it needs to have meaning. And B, if possible, it has to make the process easier. It has to make the insights jump out quicker, or it has to make it like solidified more in their minds. So having the context to what these numbers mean is just another way of helping them. So for example, I hover on Peru. I can see that the situation, which I forgot to put in the tooltip, let's go do that now. Tooltip, where did it go? Situation. So actually we have a whole layer of information that's missing. So we actually have to do this. Let me add in. I'm going to add in this layer, add in a line. So we want to show the score in 2023. And then we're going to show the situation. Why am I doing caps? Score in 2023. Okay. What is wrong here? Score in 2023. We go and look for the score. I guess we can use the size, which is the score. And then we're going to show the situation, which we're going to leverage the situation field as well. So for this, I'm going to just make it lighter for the score. I'm going to make it maybe not that light. One darker. Okay, so now we have the score in 2023, the situation is problematic. So the point that I was trying to make is someone's going to see 55.8 and it's like, okay, that's a problematic situation. But what does that really mean, right? And that's why now when we can grab this information, the index scoring, and we place it right beneath that, now we've answered that question for them without them needing to jump to that other website where, yeah, they can totally go there if they want to. But why would they need to when we can help them not have to? So we now go back here, we hover, and we can see that we have the rank, country, the change, the score, the situation, a bit more explanation, the score over time, and then some additional context for what the score actually means for them. So just like that, right? There's like so much information living in here that if you really think about it, there's no way that we would just like, we have all that information here, but again, it's a bit more difficult to contextualize, and it's not as easy as when they hover and it's just like, okay, this is everything that they need to have. So that's one way you can leverage tooltips to like make the process easier. And I say, like, if you're gonna do something, do it well. And so rather than just like, you know, typing out stuff, we can actually put in some efforts into making a tooltip like, you know, look nice, and people would want to look at it and use it and learn from it. So we're almost done. This is great. Let's go to this one. I think the tooltip for this one is a little less elaborate, but we're still putting some thought into it, and we're actually putting effort into making it very presentable. So for that one, I'm just going to copy and paste, since you've already seen like kind of how I put this stuff together. So if we go here to the original viz, it's basically just the country, the same information, score 2023, the situation, and the extra context as to what the different scores mean. So let's just Control C, go here, Control V, and then this one, let's actually like wrap it up nicely by adding one more border at the bottom just for visual balance. And I need to grab some or correct some things. So the situation in this, or the country in this data set, doesn't have a 1. Situation doesn't have a 1. And now we're good to go. All right. So now let's see, we got this tooltip, these tooltips. Actually, we need to do these tooltips. All right. So here's another thing we're going to do for tooltips. Rather than just showing what is the situation, what is the zone, what is the number of countries, let's actually write out like a meaningful statement that actually tells the user what they're looking at. So we're going to say in zone, these many locations are in a situation. So we're leveraging fields in the data set that make the tooltip dynamic. So it's just another way of making things easier for the user. In case the theme is not really clear here, I think that it's helpful to try to do everything you can to make the process easier for the users, right? Like, we're, as much as we would want to and love to have everyone just, you know, automatically grasp things, sometimes we're going to have to do the work for them so that they don't have to struggle to understand. And, you know, again, it's just thinking about if you were in the place of your user, what kind of things would make it easy for you? Yes, we're all data literate, but we have to admit that, you know, we still like things easy. So just do unto the viewer how you would like to be, you know, if you were the viewer, what would you like to see? And just do that. So in Eastern Europe, Asia Central Zone, 2 locations are in a problematic situation. So that way they can see these circles, and obviously it's intuitive, like anyone more than likely can look at the circles and, you know, when you see the situation summary, they can put 2 and 2 together. But it's not the same experience as when they hover it and they get instant confirmation that what they need to understand is understood, because we've laid it all out there very simply. So I think that was the last little piece that we had to do here. So, you know, what we've done, we built out these 2 B-swarm charts, and like, I think each one took us less than 5 minutes. I promise you, if you're going to do calculations, you can at least double or triple that amount of time. We went into Figma and we saw how you can lay out background images that match exactly in Tableau without needing to fuss around with measurements. We've added in some amazing tooltips, reference lines, and custom ways. And I think that this was a fun one. So I think, you know, from this point, I mean, the next thing you would want to do is obviously review maybe share to get some feedback. And then once you're done, you can publish to Tableau Public, share your stuff with the world, and have everyone basically interact and learn new stuff. So I hope that you enjoyed the session. I hope that this was valuable for you to see. And I think that Makeover Monday in itself, really, like I said before, the whole theme is like, how can we improve on visits that are already made? And so it's a good opportunity to practice and just viz cool things. You can be creative because technically there are no stakeholders, there's no performance reviews. It's just a time to kind of have fun. So as you get out there, I say just keep vizzing. That's how you get better. And as you viz, just have fun with it. So if you kind of have questions, thoughts, you can hit me up on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever works best for you. If you've seen me do something here and you're like, look, boy, there's a better way that I know how to do this thing, that's fantastic. Please do share with me, because I don't really care how far I go with this thing. I don't really care what level I'm at. I still want to learn from you. I don't care what level you're at, right? We can learn from each other. So hit me up, and happy visiting. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Stop button.